guys, Jen and Milos here. We are coming to you from the city of Prague. We are here in the Old Town Square. I can get the horsies there. Now, we want to show you around this amazing city. I do want to preface at the beginning of this video that we stop here quite regularly on the tours that we lead. So if you happen to see us dressed in completely different outfits, I'm not gonna lie, we're going to tape footage for this video over several visits here in Prague, just so we can make the best of weather and free time and whatnot. But I want to make sure that you guys get to see this amazing, amazing city. So let's take you around Prague.
In this video, we'll introduce you to some of the main attractions in Prague, as well as give you some additional suggestions of what to do in your free time. On top of that, we'll give you a few ideas when it comes to dining and shopping. Prague, aka Praha, has been around for about 1,000 years, and not much of it was destroyed in the war. So walking around the city is akin to taking a walk back in time.
So right behind me, up on the hill, you can see Vrtba, the castle district, the Prague Castle complex, which is massively huge. So it's not what you think of as just a traditional like one castle building like Americans think of in like fairy tales. It's a huge complex of many offices, residences, palaces, churches, a huge cathedral. It's everything within these enormous castle walls up on the hill. Vrtba is actually the oldest part of Prague. Just below it, below the hill, is Mala Strana, or sometimes called Lesser Town. Also a very old part of town, and then on the side that we're on is the same side as the old town, which we will show you. So right behind me is the astronomical clock dating back to the 1400s. You're going to notice there's a huge crowd here right now because it's getting ready to go off the hour in about 10 minutes. A little heads up though, if you decide to stand here in these massive crowds, hold on to your bag. This is the #1 place for pickpockets. They're very clever. Now you may notice crowds in general on this video, and yes, Prague is always busy. It's always crowded, there's always lots of people, so just get ready for it and go with it. Right behind me is the Estates Theater. Here we go. And this is where Mozart premiered Don Giovanni, one of his most famous operas. So behind me, we have Wenceslas Square. Yes, guys, that Wenceslas from Good King Wenceslas' Christmas Carol.
Good King Wenceslas, look out on the feast of Stephen.
And I guess maybe being a professional Christmas caroler, that always strikes me as more interesting and cool. I don't know. Anyway, yes, the Good King Wenceslas Square behind us, and then in the distance you can see the National Museum in that beautiful, gorgeous building with the green dome.
Right now we're crossing the Chekhov Most, and you can see we're right above the beautiful Vrtba, very busy Vrtba River. But behind you can see the metronome, but the metronome wasn't always there. During the communism there was a humongous Stalin statue, which is about 15.5 meters, or if you want to have it in feet, it was about 50 feet. So it was huge Stalin statue that after the fall of communism was blown up. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cross the street and walk right up there. So right, you can see the metronome, that's where a humongous statue used to be. Jen, wait up.
Prague is known as the city of 100 spires, but there's actually way more than that. We're talking more like 1,000. But if you look along the landscape of the old town side, you can see all the spires and towers. The second bridge that you can see along here is the famous Charles Bridge. It's a pedestrian-only bridge, amazing statues all along, and it's from the year 1357, and it was done that way on purpose. But 1357 is when that bridge was built. We are approaching the Charles Bridge, which we mentioned and showed you from above. Now, folks, I gotta tell you, this bridge is so packed and crowded throughout the entire day. The Charles Bridge spans from the Strana to the Old Town side.
A little over half a kilometer long, so over 500 meters.
So we're gonna be totally crazy and go across the Charles Bridge during the day when it's super duper crowded. But we wanna show you.
So looking right now, it's hard to imagine that at what point there was traffic on this bridge, but 1978 was the last year when there was any traffic here. From that point on, all vehicular traffic has been forbidden and it's only pedestrian bridge, while the other bridges still, of course, have traffic on them. But this particular bridge, impossible.
Around the year 925, Wenceslas, yes again that Wenceslas, founded a Romanesque rotunda here at the current location of St. Vitus Cathedral, which was converted into a basilica in the year 1060. Construction on the current cathedral started in 1344 and took centuries to build. The church was consecrated in 1929. Due to this prolonged building period, the church is a combination of Gothic and Neo-Gothic styles. The monastery was founded in 1140. It was rebuilt in the Baroque style after the 30 Years' War. The impressive library is home to manuscripts, maps and globes, and theological texts and Bibles. The oldest book here is from the 9th century. After the 1989 Velvet Revolution, church property was restituted and the monastery community returned.
One of my top suggestions of something to do on your free time in Prague is go to the Vrtba gardens, and they're hidden. So right through this archway, you go through here, go through the courtyard, go up the little steps. It's close to St. Nicholas. So let's go on in. Again, just keep going through this courtyard. I know it looks like you're in private residential area, but it's still okay. This is the way to get to the garden. So don't be thrown off. Then you come through this archway. Here you go, see? We go right up through here, and this is where we can get our entrance to the gardens. So I wanted to take you here because this is my favorite garden in Prague, the Vrtba Gardens. It has the nickname the Wedding Cake Gardens because of the many tiers that go up, the different levels of the gardens that you can ascend, and then from up top you get the best view of the city. This is also a place where a lot of bride and grooms like to get their wedding photos too. Now, one of the best rewards awaiting you if you climb to the top of Vrtba Gardens is this view. I've got the Prague Castle behind me, St. Nicholas. I can even look all the way across back to the old town. It's fantastic. And if you're into birds, they even have a little aviary here. Now, one of the museums that I personally recommend and really like here in Prague is the Mucha Museum. So we're gonna take you inside really quick. You've seen his work. Maybe you don't know it's Mucha, but I promise you're familiar with it. Now, Mucha is so closely associated with the Art Nouveau period, even though he wasn't fond of the term himself. Mucha saw great success in Paris when he was commissioned to make a poster for Sarah Bernhardt's extension of a successful play that was running in the city. His poster was so well received around the city that he got a 6-year contract out of it to make all the posters for her upcoming plays. Now, one of the things you'll see all around Prague are these chimney cakes. So they're trdelník, turdlo. They're really quite delicious and yummy, and in more recent years they've even made them into cone shapes so you can have ice cream in them. But even though this is advertised as a traditional Czech specialty, it actually originates in Hungary back to the 1400s. And then it's spread around, including here, and I guess Prague has decided to adapt it as their own. Regardless of the history, they're very tasty, and you have lots of opportunities to try them all around the city, and it makes everything smell really good and sugary.
And they are everywhere.
Literally everywhere. All right, so here we go. Fresh from the cone cooking thing. It was still steaming when they gave it to us. A good way to eat it is unroll it like this. So essentially it's like a soft dough with sugar on the outside. Again, some of them make them closed at the bottom so you can fill it with ice cream or whipped cream or all kinds of fillings.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Sometimes you'll see cocoa, so it's chocolatey.
Yeah, sometimes they line it, and sometimes I've also seen them line it with chocolate on the inside. One thing though, eat them right away. They don't keep well, so if you want to have it, like save it for the next day, it won't be so good the next day. Eat it right away.
All right, give me a bite.
This is all for research.
Right.
Prague is a large and diverse city, so there's lots of food and dining. Now, even though the traditional Czech meal is like duck and dumplings and cabbage, there's all kinds of dining, so we want to share with you some of that here. We are headed to dinner at Kempa Park, which is one of Prague's most prestigious restaurants. We've been wanting to try it out for a long time. So we're gonna head over there now. We've got a reservation and we'll show you what it's all about. So we managed to get a wonderful seat here at the restaurant. There was just a massive thunderstorm, so they're reopening the terrace. The heat lamps are going because it's a bit cool. We get some blankets.
Even though it's mid-May.
Yeah, it's mid-May, but not
unseasonably cold.
But anyway, look at the view behind us. Now, folks, Kempa Park is expensive, but you're paying for the view and you're paying for fine dining. So again, there's lots of options in Prague, but if you're looking for something extra special, see if you can get a reservation here, and you need reservations. So we want to take you to have a traditional Czech meal. And one of the places that is pretty common to find around the city is Kolkovna. So we thought we'd take you there. It's an option that's budget friendly, and you can have some real Czech food. A few notes about if you're gonna have lunch here. You're gonna get genuine Czech food. You're going to get beer, but you're not going to have the best service. And this is a trade-off. Bear in mind that there's still this hangover from the communism period where service was not a thing. So don't be shocked. Take it as part of the experience for what it's worth. especially if you want something that's budget friendly. If you go to a fine high-end restaurant, of course you're going to have better service. And of course here, beer is a big deal. Did you know that the Czech are the biggest beer consumers per capita in the world? So while you're here, make sure to have beer.
And what we got is
The Pilsner, which is Pilsner or Kvel. And of course, Pilsen is a city that's not too terribly far from Prague, which gives the name to the famous Pilsner beer. Cheers!
zdravie.
This is pretty much the most traditional Czech meal you can get. We've got some duck, cabbage, and dumplings. When you think of the Czech cuisine,
Light
this is
cuisine.
it. Light cuisine, yes. There's nothing light about traditional Czech cuisine. Miloš decided to go with some schnitzel and potatoes.
Because I don't like cumin.
He doesn't
but
like
it doesn't look
cumin.
like there's too much cumin
There's
on
only
it,
a
so I
little
will
on the
have some
duck,
duck.
but he'll eat it. And if it's made correctly, the skin should be nice and crispy, which this one is.
Okay, so that was way too much food, but the duck was done perfectly, basically. It was delicious. Crispy skin, cooked just right, good cabbage, nice gravy for the duck. Everything was great. If you're looking to get something for the little ones in your family or your life, the perfect thing to get them is a Kurtek. It's a little mole. I know it sort of looks like a penguin, but this is a great option. This was basically, during communism, the answer to Mickey Mouse. It's a little mole with his adventures with his friends. It was a movie and then it became a whole franchise. If you're looking for ideas of what to buy in Prague, think garnets, crystal, those are really popular. Marionettes are popular too here. If you're looking for some fun souvenirs or other memories of Prague, there's a great open air market that's here. All kinds of things you can get, from souvenirs to snacks to drinks to produce. Anyway, it's very, very close to the old town square and easy to get to. Now don't worry if you forgot anything while you were packing for Prague, because there's a giant mall, the Palladium, basically right next to the old town. So
Another great way to see the city is to see it from below, from the river. Take a boat ride on the Vrtba. Now the Vrtba is also known as the Moldau, which some of you might know from Smetana's famous musical composition. Of course, Prague is a beautiful city when the sun goes down and the lights come on. It's definitely worth exploring by night as well as the daytime.